In today's episode, Steve Judge talks about going from wheelchair to a world champion para-triathlete. He talks about a 5-step process that he follows to get what he wants and about not leaning on your excuses. Welcome to Man Quest Define Meaning, where we help men navigate modern life, find their true purpose, and redefine manhood. I'm your host, James, and each week, inspiring guests share their journeys of overcoming fear, embracing vulnerability, and finding success. From experts to everyday heroes, get practical advice and powerful insights. Struggling with career, relationships, or personal growth? We've got you covered. Join us on Man Quest Define Meaning. Now, let's dive in. Welcome, my name is James. I'm the host of Man, A Quest Define Meaning, and today I have a special guest, Steve Judge. How are you, Steve?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Thanks, James. And excited to be talking to you on this podcast about the mental health side of man. So, yeah, I've been more excited than other podcasts because it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to release a little bit more and be a bit more open, authentic, and even maybe a little bit vulnerable as well. So let's see where this goes.
That's good because obviously the whole idea of this podcast is about becoming that man, that healthy male, that understanding who we actually are, how we can start to become more vulnerable, how we can accept our own emotions, and how we can use all this inner power that we have to really grow and become our best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, I've been on a journey, an overall journey, which we'll cover, but also a more recent journey with regard to my mental health. And I've learned a lot in a very short space of time. And it'd be nice to share some of my learnings because I believe it will help others in similar situations.
That's perfect. Let's start off. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, a little bit about myself. So let's go into my journey. So I'm a global speaker now, but my journey that I talk about takes from wheelchair to world champion and beyond in business. So it goes back 2002, had a near fatal car accident. Got both my legs crushed, was rushed to the hospital. I was told that I may never walk again. And that's where my journey really starts. You bypass the being a kid and growing up. And I think there's a lot of foundation there. A real catalyst in my life was being told that I may never walk again. And at that point, it was very much a fight or flight situation. I could have just rolled over in bed and given in, or the opposite was being angry and being ready to fight and show them what I was capable of. Every human being is different, and they didn't know who I was. So that's where my journey started with the rehabilitation, growing my leg back by 4 inches, learning to stand again, learning to walk again. And there were ups and downs. I remember a year after the accident, there were complications with my leg, and I actually went backwards, back into a wheelchair. And that was really being knocked down, that resilience kicking in. I say that like I was some kind of Superman. Let's be clear, the tears are first, the sulking, the depression side of it was first. And then it's the acceptance and like moving myself on because that's what I had to do. Now, going through all of that, coming out the other side, standing and walking again, realizing that I had disability now, but not leaning on my excuse and thinking about what I could do rather than what I couldn't do. So getting more physical in swimming and cycling and eventually running and entering an event called a para-triathlon, so triathlon for disabled people, and competing and crossing the finish line in my category as a British champion, which then opened new opportunities for me, which I grabbed with both hands, now representing Great Britain, setting new goals to become European champion, which I achieved, and eventually take me all the way to Beijing, China, where I competed in the World Championships, where I crossed the finish line to become world champion. That's it in a nutshell. I retired as an international competitor in 2014, and it's all about what's next. How can I give back? How can I complete the circle almost? I'm very involved in scouting now as a Cub Scout leader and also president of Derbyshire Scouts, but also to share my message. I'm a international global speaker, award-winning global speaker, where I share my story to empower others to achieve the life that they want to live, whatever that might be, whether that's academics or whether that's relationship or whether that's love or health, wealth, happiness. Surely happiness is what everybody strives for. And it's all about achieving things in their life. Their gold, as I would call it, gold being an acronym for their goal, their opportunity, their love, their dream? What is that thing that they really want? What is that thing that they get excited at? What is that thing that will get them out of bed at 5:30 in the morning? That's the thing that I can help them achieve. And I do that by telling my story and what I learned along the journey. And yeah, there were highs and lows, like I said, in the rehabilitation as elite athletes, there's tough times with the competing and my marriage and my work. And now in business, there's ups and downs still, whether it's the pandemic that skewed us all, of course, but also just things not going quite according to plan in the business world and having to cope with that. And maybe some of that we'll cover later on. But that's where I am now as an international speaker.
Hell of a journey you've been through. Let's go back to when you first had that accident, when you became disabled. What was it that gave you that fight kind of mentality in order to go and prove to the doctors that you can do it? What was it that really triggered that?
I think I don't like being told what to do, to be honest. It's like a red rag to a bull, to be honest. I don't think anybody really likes being told what they can and can't do. And when somebody says that you can't, you may never walk again, this is a natural thing that it's our given right to walk. It's something that we're born with, unless you're born with a disability. But otherwise, it's something we take for granted. The accident almost took it away, but if somebody was saying that they might take it away, that's how I saw it. That's how I heard it. And that angered me. So that's where it comes in, the anger, the frustration of somebody telling me what I can't do, and I will prove them wrong. And that kind of triggered something inside me. I think before that as well, you've also got the survival. Survival kicked in. I just needed to survive. Before I leapt out of bed and started walking on crutches, I just needed to breathe. I just needed to eat food for energy. I just needed to get better so that I could focus, so that I could repair myself, so that I could then start building up my upper body strength, because I knew how important that was. And when all of these things come in, and how did I do that? I don't know. You start digging down into the things that have got you through life up to that point, and they're all emphasized. I was an engineer, mechanical engineer, maintenance fitter. I used to work down the coal pits, but the whole point of being an engineer is you're constantly being given problems and having to find solutions. Now I was using that for my life. The problem was I might not survive. The problem was I might not be able to walk. Okay, so how do I sort that out? What is the solution? What more can I do to make sure that I get that sorted? In scouting, I loved scouting as a kid, and it's all about the badges, setting those badges, working towards them. I saw every single badge as a goal that I worked towards. Now, in hospital, my goals were, again, survival. My goals were to lengthen my leg. My goals were to straighten my leg. That was a goal that I was working towards. And as I was going to say an athlete. My hobby was running. Okay. And I was good. I wasn't like an athlete, I would say, but I was very good at it. But again, that's very much about setting PBs, personal bests, and just pushing myself physically to achieve better running goals or running success or running achievements. Now I'm using that in hospital to set myself goals, as in, again, to grow my leg. But how far could I walk? 1 meter, 2 meters, 10 meters, half a kilometer, setting those goals physically and pushing myself so that I could achieve them. So I think that's where everything came from, was everything that I'd done before that point, and just emphasizing it for survival mode.
Yeah, that's life. You learn all these different ways and means to do things, but sometimes we never put them into action. So
Yeah.
if you say, for example, with myself, I've learned over the years how to manage my emotions. But if you don't put it into action and utilize it, then you don't get the benefit of what you learned. And so I can see what you've done in regards to your past. When was the accident?
2002, so 22 years ago now.
22 years ago. So I can imagine you've learned loads up until then, and then suddenly you're like, okay, now I've got something serious happen to me. I need now to put all this into action so that I can progress, to grow, to be that better version of yourself.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that's so true. And there's also the self-development side as well. And I was naturally doing that, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just naturally doing it to get better. And I came across this book by an author called Malcolm Gladwell, and the book's called Blink. And it's very much talking about your subconscious as well as your conscious, about how you do things. And one of the things that I had been doing during my journey was, if I wanted to achieve something, I drew a picture of what I wanted to achieve, and then I worked towards that. What I was actually doing was I was opening up my RAS, which is RAS, your reticular activating system, And that is about opening up to your subconscious. You can program your RAS so that once you see what you want, then you will see the opportunities around you. And it's not coincidence, it's because you know what you want. So I was programming my brain and my mind to do that through rehabilitation as an elite athlete, now in business. People might, your audience might have heard of things like a vision board, and I have a vision board now. That is opening up to your RAS. You look at your vision board every day, or you see it out of the corner of your eyes, and you think, oh, that's what I want. Oh, look, there's a social media post. There's something that's come through the post itself, the physical post, talking the conversation. You think, oh, isn't that a coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. It's because you've got a vision board and you know what you want, you're working towards it. And realizing that means that I could now emphasize it more, as in, let's draw more pictures, let's put more on my vision board, because clearly it's helping. Clearly I've achieved through my journey and I want to continue. So this is something that I pass on to other people. But yeah, that's one of the first personal development books that I read, and that really opened my eyes as to, wow, that book was really good. What else? What other books are out there that I could learn from? And that was fascinating.
Yeah, they always go on about seeing if you want to have a particular car, then you put the pictures up, and then what people always see, they start seeing more of them cars going around the place. And yeah, I think we have 40 bits of information which our brain can, our conscious mind can receive. And but underneath the surface in our subconscious, we have, is it 40 million bits of information we can take.
It
So
is, yeah,
obviously, there's a huge gap between what we can see subconsciously, which is quite often not in the out surrounding world, and what we
yeah,
can see in our conscious mind. So it
yeah,
disappears.
yeah, no, totally. Yeah, 40 million pieces of information, sights, sounds, smells that subconsciously we see and think, what do we? Well, we don't know because it's subconscious. That's the whole point. But
But
by
yeah,
programming our RAD, by programming our conscious, then we do. And you're right about the cars. If you think about my, so the game that my daughter's played with me, and other people might have heard this, is driving along and she just hits me in the arm. I go, what's that for? And then she hits me again in the arm. So why are you hitting me in the arm? She says, every time I see a mini, I am allowed to hit you. It's called a mini punch. And she hits me again
okay.
because the mini just goes past. I'm like, I don't really like this game, but okay, let's do it. And suddenly I saw a mini, so I was able to hit her back. Not too hard. She's my daughter. But then suddenly I'm seeing all these minis on the road that I hadn't seen before, but now it's part of the game, which is great. And especially when you pass a mini garage, you can imagine how many punches were going backwards and forwards. But yeah, you don't see things until you start looking. And to get other people, to get my audience, the people that I coach, to start thinking about what they want. And then I loved your analogy of the car as well, about your ideal car. I have a picture of a car here, an Audi. I think it's a Q3 or something. I'm not really into cars. It's just a picture. But what you can do more than just having a picture, you can go to a car showroom and actually go and have a look at one, physically touch one, maybe even take a selfie of you outside. Maybe you could sit inside the car or even take it for a test drive. Now your subconscious is just going crazy. You go, I want to say, what do I have to do to get this car? That's a different story altogether. What more do you have to do? But just knowing what you want first and really getting excited about what you want, whether it is a new house, a new car, a new job, a new suit, falling in love, all of these things, to get a six pack, to go to the gym, to be healthy, to get up the stairs without getting out of breath, all of these things, get it into your head about what you really want, play the game. And once you've done that stage one, the other stage is a bit more complicated than that, maybe less fun, but it's really important that you know what you want, your gold, as I would call it.
Okay, that moves us perfectly into the next stage. So let's talk about. She talked about stage one. Let's go into stage two and stage three. But could we use an example of you competing? And was it winning at the Paralympics? But
So yeah, it went in stages, I must admit. So when I first started, my first goal was to just finish the triathlon, just finish. It's a big thing. A swim, a bike, and a run takes about an hour and a half just to finish that. To go from wheelchair to that was a big thing. So that was my goal. I did then find out it was a British Championship. So suddenly I cranked it up and thought, I want to win. I don't want to just finish. I want to win because I'm quite competitive. And I did win. And then that again, that's new goals that set out. I wanted to be representing Great Britain, so I wanted to become European champion. But yeah, let's go for the big one. I wanted to become a world champion. First thing I did was I drew a picture. I drew a picture of me crossing the finish line in my GB kit, the crowd going crazy, big smile on my face, and me grabbing the gold medal. That was my goal. So that's the first one. Stage two is very much why. Why? Why do I want that? Why do I want that so much? What's going to drag me out in the dark nights when it's cold and it's raining? Why would I do something as crazy as doing a triathlon at that level? And some of it was the gold medal, the accolade to represent Great Britain, the opportunity. I think opportunity is a big thing. I had this opportunity to do all of that. Why would I say no to that? That's crazy. But I think deep down, James, there was a thing about the accident. The accident had really annoyed me, frustrated me. I was angry about it and I wanted to prove it wrong. And this is one way that I could prove it wrong. The accident nearly put me in a wheelchair for life, and I'd got out of that. And now I wanted to prove that I wasn't just out of the wheelchair, I was more than that. I was an athlete, more than that, as a world champion. I don't think you can get much higher than that. So that's what really drove me. And I remember using that anger just on the rowing machine. I remember looking at the mirror and straight in front of it and just focusing on my eyes and just going, using that anger to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you accident. It's sort of like giving it a name almost. I'm going to show you what I can do. And that really drove me through those tough times. So knowing what I want, your golden soul, as I would call it, really important. But then we'd leap on to the next one, which is the third one, your golden gear, all the gear that you need to achieve. And that is one question 3 times. And that is, what more can I do? What more can I do? What more can I do? As an elite athlete, you've got to be on that start line with no regrets. You've got to know that you considered everything, your nutrition, your training, your strength, your conditioning, your equipment, your golding, everybody involved, everything involved. And you've always asked yourself, what more can I do? So that, you've got the no regrets. Let's leap straight on to the fourth one, which is your golden gang, the people around you. You've got to realize you can't do this thing alone. So who have you got on your side? Rehabilitation, it was the amazing NHS. As an elite athlete, there's so many practitioners that help me with a swim coach, a bike coach, a run coach, a triathlon coach, nutritionist, a bike mechanic, all these people come into it, friends, family, loads of people helping me to get there, to get me to the start line, but also to get me across the finish line with the gold medal. The last one, let's just finish this off, is your golden hour, a deadline. Okay, you've got a deadline to work towards. Now, as an elite athlete, I knew what the deadline was because it was the World Championships. Once that date came in 2011, that was my deadline. That's everything that I'd been working up to. And now I needed to be fit, healthy, the no regrets for the start line. But bizarrely, I had to be injury free. I had to make sure that I
Mm,
was completely okay. And that's a different subject. And we can cover that later, maybe, because I had to be physically fit, but also mentally fit. And I had to start thinking about my wellness, my mental wellness as well, to make sure that I could get to, because I realized that if I couldn't get to the start line, if I had injury, if I couldn't get to the start line, I couldn't even compete. And there's a massive crossover on that with people in business and people in their real life. If they really love doing what they like doing, whether it's like being with their family or their loved ones, or they love their work or whatever it is, they've got to be fit and healthy to be able to do that. If you burn out, if you burn the candle at both ends, then you can't do the things that you want. You can't get to your start line. So what does that mean? What do you need to do to make sure? For me, I had to be injury free. So that was the whole warming up, warming down. And it is boring, I must admit, because you don't see any results. You just don't get injured and you don't see that. So you just don't get injured, but it's vital. So I did that. I knew what the deadline was and I crossed the finish line 2011 and I grabbed that gold medal and everything came to fruition. So it worked.
perfect. Perfect ending. I can imagine, well, you said yourself that throughout your journey to becoming world champion, you had lots of setbacks. How did you particularly overcome setbacks?
Okay, so yeah, my journey. Goodness me. So rehabilitation, there's a big one. So to answer your question, it's the wave of resilience. Now, I came with this concept during the pandemic. I'm going to like flick all over the place here. So the rehabilitation, big downside on that was a year after the accident, I went backwards. I had to have another metal cage on my leg. I was back in a wheelchair. And it was because it was a year anniversary. I looked at where I was a year before and I was fit, healthy, and able bodied. And now look at me, I'm still in a wheelchair and I've lost my independence. That was really a low time actually for me because it was around that time when I also received a letter from my employer and saying it's been 12 months and you're not able to come back to work. So I'm really sorry. We're going to have to end your employment. So that's a real blow. Talk about being knocked down or being kicked when you're knocked down. And that's how I felt. And I remember bursting into tears and crying over and over again. And it was that kind of crying though, James, where I couldn't stop. So if I did stop, it just built up inside me and it just exploded over and over again. And that was horrible. If I then leap forward to another similar situation, my being an elite athlete, it wasn't necessarily when I didn't win the race, when I got beaten by the Italian. I think it was everything else on top. My marriage was struggling after a couple of years because I was working full time in health and safety construction. I was competing as an elite athlete in the swim, bike, run as a triathlete. I had a family with 2 kids. So I'm juggling all of that. I'm trying to be the best that I can in every single department. And when you're juggling all of that, sometimes you drop a few balls. I didn't think I had, but my employer did. I didn't think I had, but my wife did. I didn't think that, but when I didn't win the race, then my coach did. And you're just like, wow, I'm doing my best, I swear. And there was one time when I got to work and I was in tears and I just didn't know what to do. And it was then when I got my phone out and I found the number for the Samaritans and I phoned them. And to be honest, I can't remember how that conversation went. I just know that I had a chat and I know that afterwards I felt better. And that's all that really counts. And more than that was I had that phone number now and I had that in my back pocket that I could use anytime. And that was really important to me. If we jump forward onto where we are now in business, the pandemic, I could go on about that, but I think more recently it's been with everything else, just when your business doesn't go well and you get knocked down again and again, and then you pick yourself up, then you get knocked down again and again. You think, geez, give me a break. This is mad. This is, and you're just doing everything you can. You just get knocked down again and again. And that ended me up in hospital in April this year. I didn't know why. I had a blood infection. Couldn't work out why my immune system had broken down so much until I pieced it all together. My relationship, in my 7.5 year relationship had just broken down and would just split up. My business was not failing, it was really struggling. But I said to myself, I thought about quitting. I don't like using that word, but I thought if I can't get my business to work, I might have to get a proper job. Instead of being a speaker, I'm going to have to get a job with a salary and an office and stuff like that. And I didn't want to do that. And as soon as I thought about it, I thought, no, I won't do that. I was very stubborn. But yeah, I considered it. And because my business wasn't doing too well, my finances were coming down and down and down, a bit like a ticking time bomb. And you just see this all coming. So why was my immune system broken? Because of all of that. And so that's what ended me up in hospital. The point is, and going back to your question that you asked, is how did I get through? How did I get through each of those? And it's probably a big answer, but I do want to share the wave of resilience. And this is the concept that I came up with. So when something bad happens to us, and I don't want to make this too generic, and I don't want to tell anybody what to do, but this is what I discovered for myself. Because I did some research, we have this initial shock, as in something bad happens, and we go, oh my goodness, this is really bad. And it's at that point, it's like a fight or flight in a way. And so straight after that, we go into denial. We go, no, this can't be happening. That's the testosterone kicking in to say, it's all right, we've got this. No, it can't be happening. Surely it can't be happening. You suddenly then realize that it is happening. So you've gone a little blip up and then you're being dragged downwards. Now, as you're coming down, like the wave of resilience, you're being dragged down, you're going to the anger stage. Now, anger is when the testosterone kicks in again and you are angry about the situation. You might be swearing, you might be physical, you might be slamming doors, you might be just, I don't know. And the point is that to control this situation, the best thing you can do is be angry. Don't try to deny it, but being angry in a controlled way. Sport is a great way of doing this. So go for that run, go to the gym, really push yourself in a control. Punch bag, of course, the punch bag was a great idea. Or maybe go gardening, have a pillow fight, scream out loud in the middle of nowhere so nobody can hear you, but get it out your system. Because if you say that I'm not angry, you're kidding yourself and that's just going to explode at some point. Now, after anger, you're still coming down, you hit sharing. Sharing is really important. You got to get it out. You got to share with somebody. When I say somebody, a coach would be good, a counselor, a therapist. If you don't want to do that, maybe a best friend, somebody that you trust. If you don't want to do that, then do it with yourself. Share it with yourself. Share what you're going through. And if you struggle with do that, what about writing it down? Maybe start doing a journal. Struggle with that, maybe some poetry. Listen to some songs that you can really relate to. Some songwriters who are having a tough time, you go, yeah, that's how I feel. Great, you're sharing. Maybe watch your favorite film where they've got low bits and just go, yeah, that's how I feel. Somehow you got to share. Again, if you say, no, I'm all right, I don't need to share. I've got this. Okay, I'm just going to man up. It doesn't work. Okay, you're just suppressing it and that's just going to explode. Now, whatever you do with the anger and the sharing, you're still going to hit that rock bottom. And that's at the bottom of the wave now. Rock bottom is when you're all mixed up in your hormones, you don't know what's going on. And yes, it is sulking. Yes, more than that, it's depression. And how long you stay in this state really depends on how you control the anger and the sharing. but you've got to keep talking to yourself. You've got to keep saying, so how long are we going to be here for? And you go, I don't know. I'm sulking. I'm depressed. We're going to stay here for a long time. You go, okay, that's fine, but keep checking in. Have we finished sulking yet? Are we going to move on? Are you going to stay here? You're going to stay in bed for a little bit. You're going to carry on watching Netflix and eating chocolate cake. Yeah, you can. Okay, we'll do that. But at some point, you're going to say to yourself, do you know what? I realize that nobody else is sulking. The world is moving on. It's just me here, isn't it? So we need to accept the situation. Now, acceptance is great because that's when the serotonin kicks in. And when the serotonin kicks in, you start feeling good. You can start thinking clearly. And once you can start thinking clearly, you can start taking action. And that's what you need to do. And that will start lifting you up. So you've gone down, you've been rock bottom, now you're lifting up. You start taking action, the dopamine is released. Dopamine makes you feel good, makes you want to take more action, and that will lift you up the wave of resilience all the way up to moving forward. And then now the point of this, James, is when I say moving forward and you do the wave of resilience, you're actually now at a higher plane than where you started, meaning that change, adversity, all of these things, once you go through the wave, will take you to a higher plane, put you in a really good place as long as you control it in the right way. So let's go back to my rehabilitation. Coming out of that, I ended up in a better place than I was in the hospital bed because I accepted it. As an elite athlete, yeah, I got beaten, yeah, I got knocked down, but I eventually carried on through the wave of resilience, became a world champion. Now in my business, I've been down on my knees and I've lifted up and it's been great. And I've got some amazing gigs. I'm down on my knees again, but I know that if I do it right, I will succeed and I will be at a higher place. And these things are set to try us. The one guarantee with life is there will be times when you get knocked down. You can't change that. The only thing you can change is your attitude and your mindset. So it's like you can't control what happens to you. You can't, but you can control how you react to what happens to you. And that's what I did throughout my journey using the wave of resilience. And that's how I did it. And it's none of this is easy. I just want to make that clear. None of this is easy. I might have breezed through that saying, oh, you just do this, that, and the other. Oh my goodness. It's like one of the hardest things, but knowing, believing in yourself, knowing that you're going to come out the other side at a higher place, that's what drives you forward.
Yep, 100%. It's practice as well. I feel like it's
Mm.
the more that you practice doing that, the easier it's going to come. Somebody the other day said that if in the morning you're feeling tired or grumpy or anything like that, acknowledge it. You know it's there, accept it, and then decide in that moment, I am that way at this moment in time, but I am choosing to be happy or joyful or something like that at the same time. It's all about, I think as well, it's about having that choice. We have all these emotions going through us, whether it's anger, whether it's frustration, and they are there because the more that you try to suppress them, the
Mm.
more, as you said, they bounce back and they'll come and they'll
Yeah.
try and knock you down even more. I've
Yeah.
been there myself many times. Then once you start to acknowledge it and you start to work with these emotions, you can transfer that energy from anger to something better
Yeah.
in the long run.
Yeah, no, totally, 100%. It is about talking to yourself and saying what's going on. And then sometimes you haven't got the answers, but just by asking the question, sometimes you can come up with an answer. Think, oh, maybe, yeah, maybe I'm feeling a bit sad about what happened yesterday. And maybe that's why I'm feeling a little bit low than normal. And maybe that's okay because what happened yesterday was really bad. So it's okay to be a little bit low, but let's not be low for too long. I remember when I was down at the GB training squad, and there was a questionnaire that we had to fill in as a representative of Great Britain. And one of the questions was, do you talk to yourself? And I was like, oh, I want to be honest here because I do talk to myself, but I don't want to get thrown out of the squad because I'm a little bit crazy that I talk to myself. I answered it truthfully and said, yes, I do. Afterwards, I said, look, can I just go back to this question? What was the right answer? There is no right or wrong answer. But what did you put? I said, I do talk to myself. They said, actually, that's probably a good thing. That's what we generally like is that people do talk to themselves and have conversations with themselves. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I thought, oh, thank goodness for that. I just thought I was going to be like the crazy one. So no, I do promote that you should talk to yourself. Maybe not out loud, no, maybe the inner thoughts. But yeah, it's not a bad thing at all.
Just the other day, I felt quite disconnected from everybody around me, and I decided to take myself off for a little small walk. And in that moment of walking, I allowed myself to go deep within and to talk the whole situation through. And what came out was that all these different past events and people come into my life actually have all come in at the same time so that I could actually truly connect to the true me rather than the kind of the outside self. So what I mean by that is that connecting to who I truly am, connecting to my heart, to be able to speak my truth, to be able to authentically interact with people. And once I realized that, I was able then to start connecting back to myself. Because I feel as though sometimes connecting to yourself, whether that's talking to yourself, whether that's talking out loud, can quite often connect you to others.
Yeah, no, your true self, you said then. I think that's really key thing. And something that I was going to make a generalization there, but I think we do all struggle sometimes with about admitting to ourselves and admitting to others about how we really feel, really opening up. And it is about finding the right people that you can openly share. And it will take time. You don't just go straight in and just like divulge everything that's going on in your mind. It's just, you just leak a little bit out to yourself and to others. And when it feels good and you get good results, think, I should do more of that. And it's realizing that. And it's again, it's talking to yourself, isn't it? Was that good? Yeah, it was good, Steve. We should do that again. We must do more. But yeah, just doing it bit by bit. I love that. Your true self. Good stuff, James.
That leads us on quite nicely. How do you define a healthy male, healthy man?
Ooh. So a healthy man. So, but if it came to masculinity, that just seems like an old-fashioned terminology. And I think if I was to think about a masculinity, what is masculinity? It'd be some kind of Neanderthal from the caveman period that's very much about strength and being controlling with themselves and the people around them. And I think that's still what is seen by a lot of people of masculinity and man itself. What I've learned, and possibly more recently than any other time, because of what I've been through in the last couple of months, is that it is that. I think it still is that a little bit, but it's also about bravery. Bravery, I think, has been in the past about going on the fight, the hunt, hunting down woolly mammoth and being brave and courageous about that, going out your comfort zone and getting that top job and going for that promotion. So bravery can be in many things, and that's fine. And it is that with man and masculinity. But I think more recently, what I've learned is the thing that's made me really brave is being open. So with the counseling that I've been through and the therapy that I've been through, it's about for me learning to be more open, more honest, and using this word called being vulnerable. And that makes me go a little bit squirgy in my tummy because I don't like being vulnerable. Vulnerable to me is like putting your shield down, putting your armor down, and literally opening yourself up. And I don't like that. But so why would I do it if I don't like it? Because that's where the magic happens. It is about going out your comfort zone again and to be open, honest, and vulnerable to better yourself, to help yourself through mental health. That's where it's really good. And to do that, you need to be brave. And that's where it comes back to the true essence of being a man and masculinity is being brave in all aspects. And I think that's what people have got to realize. And a lot of them, they don't, them being men. And the thing is, why, James, is because we can get through life without doing it. We don't have to do that. Or we think we don't have to do that. The thing is, we suffer and people struggle. They will get little rashes, little itches, little health problems, little niggles that they think that's just because I'm getting old or because I push myself at the gym. Yeah, it could be that. But I've had this massive realization now that there is a real true connection between what's going on in your head mentally and how that affects you physically. And I'm not a scientist. I can't like exactly explain how that happens, but it does because I've had it. And the other people, and they are burning the candle at both ends. They are stressed, they are anxious, and lo and behold, they do have health problems. And there's a massive connection there. And I think there'll be lots of studies and that will probably back me up. But yes, that's my essence of being a man. I say masculinity is being brave in all aspects of their life.
Being vulnerable from my own perspective, it's hard because you are allowing people to see part of you that quite often people haven't even seen themselves
Yeah.
until that moment. And it's in that moment when they start to show this true self, this vulnerability, such as grief. I've had a lot of grief. I still got lots of suppressed grief. As a man, you are seen to, you can't cry, you can't be seen to show these emotions. But when you allow yourself to show these emotions, it's almost like a release. All that's grief inside or anger or whatever emotion it is, it just seems to lighten. And in some respects, when you accept it, as you said talked about before, is this thing of releasing it.
Yeah.
And the more that you deny it, the more powerful it gets. But the more that you accept it, it just seems to transform into something positive.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I really agree with that. And it is so important to realize how much benefit you're going to get from releasing it. And everybody's different, but my job is a motivational speaker. So surely I must be motivating and optimistic and positive all the time, 100%, every single day, week, month, year. And so for me, I did find it exceptionally hard to say, putting my hand up and go, do you know what? I'm not positive. I'm not motivational at the moment. For crying out loud, I'm in hospital because I've got mental health problems. How on earth can I be positive? So it was very hard for me to admit that, to be authentic. And the reason I did it, so let me just cover it, that when I was in hospital, I didn't tell anybody. I don't want to offload. I want to go onto social media and just offload and say, woe is me. I want some pity. I want people to care about me. It's lovely, but I don't want that. What I want to do is start my journey of getting better and then tell people about it. I want to say I was in hospital, which is what I did. I was in hospital. I realized I had mental health problems, and this is what I'm doing about it. Come join my journey as I'm getting better, as I'm taking action, because that will inspire people, that will motivate people. People will see my bravery, and that's what I want to do. So I'm using it to still motivate people, to still inspire people, but having to be very vulnerable myself to do that. And it's been really good to put out my first blog out on social media for people to see that. I got a lot of messages saying, thank you, Steve. That's really helped me as I've shared this with other people, it helped them. And I've carried it on. Now that I've done that, now that I've like set the foundation, then I can be more authentic. So I do some live videos, and yeah, I read a quote out, and it's a very motivating quote, and this is how I see the quote. And when I'm feeling quite low on that day, I will admit it. And I still find it hard. I still say, okay, this is the quote. Can I just say, not really feeling it today? I don't actually want to do this live video. I was in bed and I've dragged myself out to do this, but here we go. And by the time I've expressed all of that, I am smiling, and it's like a bit of humor, but it's also about me being authentic. And I'm like, I've done the video now. I'm gonna go and just, I don't know, have a cup of tea and just like crash out for a bit. People need to hear that. People need to hear that I don't jump out of bed every single morning. I don't go for a run every single day. I don't go swimming because sometimes I just don't feel like it. Or if I do half the amount of length, not the full amount, because I just can't be bothered that day. And sometimes I start doing half the amount and actually the adrenaline kicks in, and then I start doing all of it. So it's really nice to share what I'm doing, how I'm really feeling, truthfully feeling, but what I'm doing about it. That's the key thing. If you're just having a moan and an offload, that's not helping anybody. But telling people what you're doing about it in a positive mindset, that's the key. And that's what I want to keep doing.
How important is it to have a support group around you?
Oh, support group. Do you know what okay, so I call them my golden gang. And I think I've realized that if I need to achieve something, I can't do it alone. I need my golden gang. I've already mentioned the amazing NHS, the doctors, the nurses, the admin staff, the surgeon, everybody helped me through my rehabilitation, family and friends. As an elite athlete, so many people helping me with what I wanted to achieve. So I get it. In my business, I've made sure that I've had the right people around me to achieve what I want to achieve. A business coach, Rob Pickering, amazing. A website guy, an accountant, I have a stylist, I have a marketing, I have a virtual assistant. So lots of people to help me in my business. But what I didn't realize is I need more people. And I'm always saying to my audiences, who would you like? Who will help you achieve, the next level? Who will help you to achieve your goal? If you could have anybody, would you like, yeah, I don't know, a nutritionist? Would you like a top chef? Would you like Jamie Oliver down in your kitchen, or John Wicks doing your personal training? Who would you like? And it's just a bit of a fun and games. Anyway, the point that I'm getting to is that I've done all of that for myself, but then I hadn't considered my mental health side. And so when that broke down, that was the one that I needed to do. I wrote, the first thing I did, James, was I wrote a list of people that I need to talk to about what I was going through. Starting off with the basics, my brother, my sister, who didn't know what I was going through, my mum, my best friends didn't know what I was going through. So these are the people that I needed in my life, in my golden gang, to share what I was going through mentally. I then opened it up on social media, and then some people came out and they reached out to help me. And I didn't know that I needed them, but I had a relationship therapist, Olga Gaydon. So she helped me with my relationship that I was going through. Mark Wingfield. He helped me with havening. Havening is a counseling that adopts the essence of touch and distraction as well. So that was really good. I didn't know that I needed that in my golden gang or needed Mark in my golden gang. But I said, look, I'll try anything. One thing I don't want to do, I don't want to go back to hospital. Let's try this thing. It worked. It was really good. So now he's in my golden gang. And it's the only way I'm finding these new members of my golden gang is to be open and honest and vulnerable. And they're the things that I've already mentioned. And it's still difficult. And I was talking to this one guy on Zoom. We're having a nice chat, 4 hours. My goodness me, we're talking about for ages. I talked about finances, how I was struggling. I said, oh, actually, I've got my finances here, my Excel spreadsheet. Would you like to have a look at it? Now, that's quite a big thing to expose your income, your outgoings, how much you're struggling. But I thought, what the hell? And I shared it with him. He says, oh, yeah, I can see your tax and you've done this and your income. Did you know, Steve, you could also do this. You could also do that. I said, oh, you seem to know what you're talking about. He said, yeah, I love this stuff. I went, oh, you are the person that I need to talk to about my accounts. Now, don't be good. I've got an accountant. Sometimes it's nice to have somebody who's a little bit on the other side as well, who knows what they're talking about. But I only found him because I was open about my account. So it's all about being open with every single aspect of your life, every area. And that's how you find your true golden gang, the people that can really help you. Now, the other thing that I really struggled was I kept asking for help. I was like, I'm feeling really guilty that I keep asking for help. Can I do anything for you? Now, I learned through my counseling and through the therapist that it's okay to ask for help and you don't have to give something back. Your time will come. But also, what I did find was with Olga and Mark, I said, is there anything I can do for you? They said, Steve, you've already done something for us. I said, have I? I said, yeah, 3 years ago, you gave me this lead and led to a paid work. And 4 years ago, you gave me this. I'd already done that. And so it's about realizing that sometimes in your life, it's time for your turn to push that button for help, because you've probably done a lot in your life to help other people. And now it's time for you to get the help yourself. So that was a really nice thing for me to realize that sometimes, or like now, it's time for me to ask for help and accept it. And I had this vision. I talked about drawing a picture. My vision is I've got a 2-year plan. I'll talk about that sometime. 2-year plan is I'm going to be more international, more of an international speaker. So the vision is I've drawn a picture of me on the stage, suitcases packed. I'm just about to set off
Mm.
on almost like the world travel, speaking around the world. The only way I've got there is the people in front of me, and that's in the picture. And the room is full of people that I'm saying thank you to, farewell and thank you. And there's a nice buffet there and everything like that. And those people will only be there if I ask for help. So to fill that room, to get me on that stage with my suitcases and my passport, I need to fill that room. So I need to keep on asking for help. So again, I'm asking myself, what more can I do? What more can I do? What more can I do? Who else do I need to ask? Who else do I need to ask? Who else do I need to ask? Ask them, send an email, send a text message, say, look, can you help me at all? And let's see how the conversation goes. Because if I do that, I'll fill that room. And if I fill that room with people, my golden gang, I will be on that stage and I will achieve the things that I really want to do. And that's to be international, speaking around the world, helping, inspiring, empowering people to achieve the life that they want to live. So it all goes round. It's all a good thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of points there I was just picking up. One, it's for men. I think for men especially, it is always hard to ask for help because we've got this persona that we need to be manly. We don't need
Yeah.
help. We're men. And even when somebody gives me a compliment saying you look good, there's almost a tendency for me to switch back and say you look good as well. But sometimes it's about accept almost acknowledging it, practicing acknowledging these things. It's when people give you money, you almost don't
Yeah.
you feel rude to accept the money, but it's about obliging and thanking them and being grateful for what's been given. And the other thing I wanted to mention as well was that sometimes it's very easy for us to put shields up to look confident, calm, happy, joyful. But underneath our own little inner child, little Jimmy as I call him,
Yeah.
he's inside, he's terrified, he doesn't feel safe, he's crying. And it's this, and I feel as though that as a whole can start to create anxiety, depression, because we don't acknowledge who we actually are sometimes. And we have this big shield on the outside, and that's who we think we are. But actually, inside, that's who we really are. And I suppose that goes back to what I was saying about our true selves, dropping back into our heart, dropping back into into our body kind of thing. And I feel as though if we're going back to talking about asking for help, it's about dropping that shield and acknowledging what people say and
Yeah.
asking for the help.
Totally. It is bit by bit. Don't do it all at once. If anybody's taking notes or anything like that, just don't divulge on anybody. But there's this thing that somebody taught me about leaning forward, and it's about if you stood still, upright, and you start leaning forward, eventually you're going to fall, and still you start running or walking, moving forward. So you just lean forward. That's it. And what I mean by that is just send a text message to somebody saying, "Can we talk? Can we talk?" It's three words. How hard is that? And they'll come back and say, "Yeah, of course we can. What do you want to talk about?" You've opened it now, haven't you? Because now you're going to talk about something. So you've leaned forward just by saying, "Can we talk?" And that's the thing. And that is the hardest thing to do sometimes. It's if you're going to go down to the gym, sometimes the hardest thing is to put your gym clothes on or pack your bag or get in the car. It's not actually lifting the weights or doing the run or anything like that. It's making that decision and taking the first step. So leaning forward is really important. But once you do, you're on your journey, and it's such a nice place to be, and you just divulge a little bit. And once people know where you are, so I've had a few conversations with the people recently, and they said, "How are you, Steve?" And I've gone, "Yeah, do you know what? I'm really fine." And they look at me and they go, "And how are you really?" And I think, because they know that I've had problems now a couple of months ago, and I can look at them in the eye and say, "I'm really fine. Thank you for asking twice," because that's what you need to do. Because sometimes you still try to cover up, but they know that I covered up for years. And so they want to make sure that I haven't slipped into bad ways again. So by me doing that social media post, that blog
Mm,
post, by me opening up to the world, let's call it, although it wasn't really the world, I'm not that big and famous, but by me opening up to my friends and family, they just know to just check in on me now and again. And that's really important. But let's just twist this round while I've got this point. It's not just about me opening up. If somebody that's opened up, it's now your duty to keep checking up on them. They need to keep asking me. I've done my bit. I've opened up. I said I've been in a bad place. I'm now being open and vulnerable and everything like that. The thing is, people think that if they don't hear anything from you in a week, 2 weeks, oh, Steve Judge must be fine now. Not necessarily. Just because I've gone quiet, it doesn't mean that everything's still okay. It's their duty, and I mean that quite harshly. It's their duty to just say, "Hey, not heard from you for a while. Is everything okay?" And it will give me great delight to say, "Everything's absolutely fine. Thank you very much for asking." But sometimes you do need that message to say, "Oh, I'm glad you asked. Things have slipped back a little bit, and things actually aren't that good." And you need that. So it's a two-way thing, opening up and also making sure that people keep opening up.
yeah. Thank you very much. Can we finish off with you just telling us a little bit about what you do and how people can contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. My big thing is I'm a keynote speaker, and I really help people to find their goals. I empower people to achieve the life that they want to live. And so what I'm looking for is big conferences where I can speak at in front of hundreds of thousands of people. I love that. But I do also run workshops. I'm also a coach, a one-to-one. And now I branched over to the wellness, the mental wellness, the mental health. And I can really help with that by sharing my story. So that really helps people. So people can get in contact with me. I'm on social media all over the place, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, Steve Judge Gold. You'll find me. Probably just Google me. You'll probably find me that way. So there's no excuses to find me. And what I mean by that is please reach out. If you've got any questions, if you like this chat that we've had today, if you've got questions, you want to reach out, find me, message me. I will reply. And it'd be really nice to help more people and empower them. Yeah, no excuses.
Thank you very much, Steve.